Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Resilience of Turkey and Africa, Past Challenges and New Partnerships webinar. Today, we will discuss the strategic partnership of mutual benefit and common development between Turkey and Africa. The COVID-19 outbreak shows the necessity of multilateral responses and global solidarity. The partnership between Turkey and Africa has continued and has been more important during the pandemic. Post-COVID-19, Africa will remain the fastest growing region in the world. 22 out of 37 African countries are escaping recession this year, according to the IMF. Turkish economy keeps growing and the growth is expected to recover by 4.5% in the fourth quarter by 2021, according to Fitch. Turkish companies have increasingly made successful business in Africa over the recent past, and there has been a growing interest in the continent. Trade and investments are needed to ease the economic impact of the current crisis and increase the resilience of African economies. In this regard, today, DEİK is organizing the first session of the webinar series in cooperation with the African Diplomatic Corps to explore the new trends and challenges for African economies, dynamics of doing business with the continent, partnership areas for development, and the opportunities offered to Turkish companies. Today's webinar hosting ambassadors of African countries and representatives of Turkish ministers. We'll have two sessions, opening speeches and panel discussion. Thank you all for joining us today. I would like to give the floor to Ms. Berna Akyıldız, Vice Coordinator Chairperson of DEİK, Turkey, Africa.
Thank you Ceren Hanım. Saygıdeğer büyükelçilerim, diplomatlar, değerli başkanım Nail Olpak, Ticaret ve Dışişleri Bakanlıklarımızın değerli temsilcileri ve ekran başındaki kıymetli katılımcılar, sizleri Türkiye-Afrika İş Konseyleri Başkan Yardımcısı ve Türkiye-Togo İş Konseyi Başkanı olarak saygıyla selamlıyorum ve sağlıklı günler diliyorum. Tüm dünyayı etkisi altına alan COVID-19 salgını 14 Şubat 2020 tarihinde Afrika'da da tespit edildiği andan itibaren Afrika İş Konseyleri olarak karşı kanat kuruluşlarımız ile ve geniş bir katılımla hiç hız kesmeden ilişkilerimizi arttırmak için online toplantılar gerçekleştirdik. COVID-19 pandemisinin tüm ekonomilere zarar verdiğini biliyoruz. Fakat bu salgından Afrika ve gelişmekte olan ülkelerin en büyük zararı göreceği yönündeki ekonomik yorumların karamsar olduğunu düşünüyorum. Zira genç nüfusu ve doğal kaynakları ile bölgesel entegrasyonu sağlayacak Afrika kıtasının her türlü zorluğun üstesinden geleceğine inanıyorum. Bu kapsamda Afrika Kıtasal Serbest Ticaret Anlaşması ve Afrika'nın bütünleşme çalışmalarını çok değerli buluyorum. Bugün Afrika'nın her bölgesinden büyükelçiler ve diplomatların önünde Afrika entegrasyonuna 45 ülke ve 50 karşı kanat kuruluşuyla faaliyetlerini sürdüren Afrika İş Konseyleri adına tam desteğimizin sağlanacağını ifade etmek istiyorum. Bu kapsamda Afrika Birliği'nin 2063 hedeflerinin bütünleşmiş, refah ve barış içinde kendi vatandaşları tarafından yönetilen ve uluslararası arenada dinamik gücü temsil eden Afrika vizyonunu sonuna kadar destekliyoruz. Bu vesileyle Afrika'da iş yapmakta olan firmalarımızı kıtada daha fazla yatırım yapmaya tekrar davet etmek istiyorum. Türkiye'nin Afrika ile var olan ekonomik ve ticari ilişkileri bizim için çok değerli. Bu ilişkilerimizin yanı sıra Afrika'da genç nüfus, göç sorunu, iklim değişikliklerine bağlı olan sel ve erozyon, gıda güvenliği gibi Afrika'nın yüzleştiği sorunları da çok yakından takip ediyoruz. Zaten Afrika ile olan ilişkilerimizde kazan-kazan prensibi üzerinden ilerlemekteyiz. Ekonomilerin birbirine bağlı ve etkileşimde olduğu çağımızda partner ülkelerimizde yaşanan sorunlar bizim ilişkilerimizi de etkiliyor. Kıtada faaliyet gösteren diğer ülke yatırımcılarının tam aksine Türk yatırımcılar yatırımlarında yerel eleman çalıştırmaya özen göstererek halihazırda 100.000 kişiye istihdam sağlamışlardır. Son olarak iş insanlarımızın salgın boyunca Afrika uçuşlarını büyük sabırsızlıkla beklediklerine ilişkin çok sayıda not aldım. Ebola, sıtma gibi pandemi deneyimleri olan Afrika'ya ilişkin karamsar senaryoları bir kenara bırakarak ve sağlık önlemlerimizi alarak Afrika ile olan ilişkilerimizi tüm kararlılığımızla sürdüreceğiz. Değerli katılımlarınız için şimdiden herkese çok teşekkür ederim.
Thank you for those insights. Now we will continue with Mr. Sinan Gültekin, Head of Department responsible for the relations with Sub-Saharan African countries at Directorate General of International Agreements and EU Affairs of Turkish Ministry of Trade.
Thank you very much. Thank you all. It is a pleasure for me to address this distinguished crowd, and I would like to start by thanking DEİK for organizing this important event. There is, of course, a lot to talk about Turkey-Africa relations. I'm personally looking forward to hearing what the distinguished ambassadors of our African partner countries are going to say on this. So I will be keeping my introductory speech very short. So let me very briefly present the current situation in Turkey-Africa relations as a way of introduction to this event. After that, I'm going to point to a couple of key areas that I hope are going to be taken up by the following speakers. Relations between the continent and Turkey have always been based on partnership and cooperation. Turkey has growing interests in Africa because there is a huge potential to develop all aspects of relations with the continent, especially on the economic level. Accordingly, developing economic relations with Africa constitute the main pillar of our commercial diplomacy since early 2000s. You might remember that we launched this strategy for the development of commercial and economic relations with African countries back in 2003. As a result of the strategy, Turkey's trade volume with Africa attained $26 billion in 2019. As of today, in 2020, the market value of Turkish investments in Africa exceeds $6 billion. And the value of projects undertaken by Turkish contractors in Africa is almost $70 billion. Currently, the number of Turkish embassies in Africa is 42, and that of the Office of Commercial Counselors is 26. So our institutional presence in the continent ranks among top with France, the UK, the US, China, and Russia. And finally, Turkish Airlines is flying to 59 destinations in 38 African countries. So going straight to the point of discussion for today, right now, you know that COVID-19 is continuing to pose a big challenge. But Turkey considers Africa an important partner and will continue supporting African efforts towards mitigating the effects of this crisis. We are conscious that our resilience will largely be dependent on our success in making sure that trade and investment flows remain undisturbed. We believe that COVID-19 should not be an excuse to restrict trade. Our preliminary response to COVID-19 and the measures we have taken all reflect this particular approach. Recent estimations concerning the global trade indicate a fall of 11% to 30% in 2020 in volumes. So we need to avoid further complicating things. The situation is already complicated and serious as it is. Our volume of trade with the continent decreased by 15% in the first 5 months of 2020. The decrease in our trade with Sub-Saharan Africa was 10% in the same period. This is a slightly less dramatic level compared to the totality of the continent, but an important decrease nevertheless. There are, of course, increases in the volume of trade with a number of countries, and this shows that trade links are well established and can be maintained even during crisis with certain partners. But the overall figure is compelling us to be cautious about trade in general. Right from the start of the pandemic, we acted on all fronts affecting trade and businesses in Turkey. The measures that we have taken include foreign trade operations, customs, transports, and logistics. We are still working on all these areas to identify further actions we can take with a view to facilitate cross-border flows of trade. Additional resources and flexibilities have been introduced in financing. Marketing of goods domestically and consumer protection were also areas where we took action. We are ready to exchange experience and know-how in these areas with our African counterparts to make the transition to a post-COVID-19 world a success. This is the first point I would like to make. My second point relates to investments. We need to forge a sustainable and beneficial collaboration for both parties. We are, of course, closely monitoring the developments in the African continent, especially with regard to COVID-19. Based on the immediate needs of Africa, we identified the manufacture of medical equipment, hygienic products, and agriculture production as key sectors. Africa sources only 8% of its health-related products from African suppliers. Actually, the continent produces many of the inputs used to manufacture these products, health-related products, such as rubber, fabrics, and ethanol. But these are often exported without any transformation. Considering that food security is a major issue in Africa, we are also willing to explore the possibility of contract farming by Turkish businesses. We believe we can initiate cooperation with Africa in these particular sectors in the short term. We are therefore calling on both our businesses and our African counterparts to jointly consider investment and manufacturing opportunities in Africa. Efficient and win-win partnership can be established throughout value chains. My third point is on AFCFTA. We have good reasons to be excited about the prospect of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. We believe that it will create a transparent and predictable business environment. It will help attract Turkish investors and establish stronger links between Turkish and African businesses inside regional value chains. We are basically predicting that the agreement will facilitate the operations of the Turkish businesses in Africa. So the expectation at the Turkish business circles is high for this agreement. We are hearing that the full entry into force has been postponed to the end of 2020. And we believe that the agreement will accelerate support and recovery in the African economies in the post-COVID-19 period. We therefore hope that it becomes operational without further delays. I also need to emphasize that we are ready to collaborate and to engage with our African partners in the context of the AFCFTA. This can take the form of technical assistance and increased dialogue. And it will be ideal to include Turkish business representatives in this dialogue for direct information dissemination. The final point I would like to make here is international and national exhibitions, basically similar type of organizations. We all know that we had to postpone these organizations in 2020 for obvious reasons. In response to that, we accelerated our efforts to transfer those organizations to the virtual environments. What we actually do is to create portals for exhibitions and trade delegations where businesses can meet and discuss with each other online. In the meantime, we began organizing official bilateral meetings online. We have already made several proposals, and some of the distinguished ambassadors present here received our proposals on this. We expect to have a series of online Joint Economic Commission meetings in the months ahead. I think I pretty much summarized what I wanted to say as an introductory speech for this organization. It's a good point for me to stop here. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your detailed speech. Now let's follow Mr. Fatih Ak, Acting Deputy Director General for Africa, responsible for the relations with East Africa and Turkish Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Dear Mr. President, His Excellencies, dear colleagues, distinguished participants, it's a great pleasure for me to have this opportunity to join this meeting. Mr. Gültekin in detail expressed the trade and economic side of this, the latest developments concerning our trade and economic relations with the continent. I don't want to repeat all of them again, so I would like to more focus on what our ministry is doing, have been doing since the COVID-19 erupted, and what we have been doing so as to continue our relations with the African countries. On behalf of my ministry and in your presence, I would like to thank, first of all, to our ambassadors on the continent. As you know, we have 42 embassies, and they made a very good job during the pandemic, and they continued their works, and they were very actively engaged in the activities and helped both Turkish citizens and third country citizens, and also they also provided assistance to the embassies here in Ankara, so that they can also have their own citizens to go back to Africa. We need to also mention here the assistance provided by Turkish Airlines. We more concentrated on the aid. As you know, there were requests almost from 49 countries. We tried our best to meet them. We were able to provide aid to comprehensive aid to some countries. Some were more restricted. Some were provided by TİKA, Kızılay, and AFAD. Some aid which were provided from the local market. But at the end, I would like to underline that we have done, and we are determined to do our utmost to help the African countries in their fight against COVID-19. I think this our sincere approach to the African countries once more have been seen with our efforts to help the African countries during these difficult times. During this process, we also realized that one of the sectors where we can cooperate is health. There's a big potential in Africa, I believe, for the Turkish entrepreneurs to invest in the health sector in Africa as well. I don't want to mention all the other sectors, but taking into consideration the experience we have been passing through in the last 6 months, Africa offers very good opportunities for investment in the health sector. Another important point, maybe during this process, that we understood the importance of logistics and freight, how we can develop more, how we can ease the processes so as to bring the goods to the countries in a better way. We need to work, and we need to further develop, find ways and means to ease this process. During this process also, I think what we understood is that we are a family, and we understood the importance of collaboration and cooperation during these difficult times. And I think this will also give a better understanding for the future of Turkey-Africa relations. Now we are talking about the normalization process, and day by day we are trying to bring the agenda the physical visits as well to the continent. As you may have followed, last week our minister paid a visit to Togo, Niger, and Equatorial Guinea. It was a very fruitful visit. It was the first after the pandemic, and we concluded some agreements, and there were very fruitful meetings. Our minister made very fruitful meetings with his counterparts, and we will continue, and we will continue our diplomatic activities in the coming months as well. This is all what I would like to say for the time being, and I hope I will be able to benefit from the other participants' ideas and other information they will provide us. Thank you.
Thank you for your speech. Now we will continue with Aden Hüseyin, Dean of the Diplomatic Corps accredited to Turkey and Ambassador of DUBT.
We don't hear you.
You can hear me?
You are on mute. Okay now.
No, so okay. I'm saying that I would like first of all to thank DEİK for hosting this important meeting, which is allowing us to present the business opportunities in the continent. I would like also to commend Turkey for its willingness and determination to seek new ways and means to connect and partner with Africa. And as a matter of fact, I think the trip made by the Minister for Foreign Affairs in Africa last week is a clear indication of this willingness and determination to build strong relations with Africa. We hope that this is the first meeting of many meetings to come that will enable interaction between Turkish private sector and the African diplomatic mission in Ankara. Economic-wise, as you know, before the outbreak of COVID-19 in Africa on March 2020, African economies were doing well and very well. In 2018, among the 10 fastest growing economies in the world, 6 were African. On 2019, the growth rate in many African countries was between 4 and 9.4%. And we all know that in recent years, Africa's average annual GDP growth rate has consistently outpaced the global average, and it will remain probably the same, around 6% till 2023. Concerning the COVID-19 and its impact in Africa, it's clear that we have been affected, and we will be affected during 2020 as the global economy is facing the worst economic decline in modern history. But the impact will be probably less. Africa will probably lose 2.6 to 3% of its GDPs. And we have a clear and reliable indicators from the African Development Bank that African economies will rebound on 2021. So we may say that Africa is still on the right path. As you know, Africa is rich in natural resources, animal resources, agricultural resources, so on and so forth. And we have invested a huge amount of money in the chain of transportation, seaports, airlines, railways, roads, industrial parks, free zones, special economic zone, to make the regional integration more efficient and to build strong common market in Africa. Furthermore, we have established adequate banking systems in very conducive business environment. We paved the way I can say that really we paved the way, setting up an operational, strong and effective economic partnership with Turkey. On the other hand, Turkey is an industrial powerhouse. It has a strong and efficient industrial base. The trade volume between Turkey and the continent shows a great progress has been made. And as Mr. Sinan Gultekin was saying, trade volume was, I think, in 2019, about $26 billion. But there is something really very important that we need to understand. Africa has changed significantly. It's important in Turkey for the political authorities, the private sector, and for the experts as well dealing with trade policies in Africa, to pay attention to the African economies, to understand the new trends and the new dynamics reshaping the entire continental economy. Time is for industrialization. Just, I would like to give you a few figures. Till 2009, USA was the main trading partner in Africa. Between 2009 and 2016, China took over and became the main trading partner in Africa. But since 2016, Africa's first trading partner is Africa itself. And these figures show one thing. It shows that we cannot expect to continue export from Turkey to Africa and to have good results in the long run. No, this is the right time to get closer to the markets by investing directly in Africa. It's time to build together efficient SMEs, companies, businesses, industries. And in this new vision, partnership is really crucial. And the African governments and African private sectors as well are ready to take their share. This is, I think, the right way to strengthen and grow the Turkey-Africa partnership that we want to build. For this, we need your help, all of you, to build adequate platforms, organize meetings with Turkish business people, chambers of commerce, chambers of industries, and African ambassadors in Turkey, I'm sure, will be providing you today accurate information in their specific countries about their economies, the potential future. And I'm convinced that this is the right way we can build a strong bridge between the African continent and Turkey. Concerning the CFTA, the Continental Free Trade Agreement, it's going to play a big role in the future. That's something clear. It will eliminate tariff on most goods, and importantly, it will create a single market with free movement of labor and capital. Although there have been some obstacles in the implementation of the CFTA because of COVID-19, the pandemic has some positive impacts. COVID-19 will trigger a shift from a global supply chain to a more regional and localized supply chain. And it's expected that many African countries will rebalance their over-reliance on distant suppliers and switch to local suppliers. It's also foreseen that excessive reliance on global manufacturing centers will shift to more regional and local industries. And I think that this is a real and huge opportunity if we want to build a strong Africa-Turkey partnership. We need to build together. We need to build joint ventures. We need to promote PPPs, and we need to move ahead. Industrialization is, I think, something very key, and time has come. Thank you very much.
Thanks for the detailed information that you have presented. Now I would like to give the floor to Mr. Nail Olpak, President of DEİK.
Thank you so much, Ceren Hanım. If you don't mind, I want to continue in Turkish, Mr. Ambassadors.
Of course, please.
Sayın Genel Müdür Yardımcım, çok değerli Daire Başkanım, Duayen Büyükelçi, çok değerli Büyükelçiler, iş dünyamızın çok değerli temsilcileri. Ben de sizleri şahsım ve DEİK adına saygıyla selamlıyor ve bugünlerde çok ihtiyacımız olduğu için sağlıklı günler diliyorum. Bu arada biz biliyorsunuz bu hafta sonu itibariyle bir bayram tatiline giriyoruz, Kurban Bayramı. yaklaşan Kurban Bayramınıza tebrik ediyor. Tüm insanlık için sağlık ve mutluluğa vesile olmasını diliyorum. Covid süresi içerisinde hiç alışmadığımız yeni normallerle karşı karşıya olduğumuz bir gerçek. İş hayatımızdan günlük yaşantımıza kadar birçok alanda bazen yenilik, bazen sıkıntılarla karşılaştığımız bu süreçte başlı başına nelerden bahsedebiliriz diye düşündüğümüzde benim iş hayatına yeni başladığım süreçlerde çok konuştuğumuz globalleşmeden Covid öncesinde konuşulmaya başlayan globalleşmeye daha hızlı bir geçişi konuştuğumuzu görüyoruz. Biz ekonomik rekabette bir şeyleri anlatırken ölçek ekonomisinden bahsederdik. Üretimden veya bir hizmeti verirken ne kadar büyük bir üretiminiz varsa rekabette o kadar fazla öne çıkabildiğiniz gibi kavramlar vardı. Ancak bugünlerde tek kaynağa ya da kısıtlı kaynağa bağlı kalmanın risklerini tartışıyoruz. Lojistik çok önemli. Lojistik deyince uzaklık ve yakınlık gibi kavramlar aklımıza gelirdi. Çünkü bir ürünü bir yerden bir başka yere nakletmekten örnek olarak bahsediyoruz. Orada yakınlık vardı. Ancak yine Covid süreci bize yakınlık ve uzaklığın sadece yeterli olmadığını, hizmet ya da ürün yakınınızda olsa bile ona ulaşamıyorsanız bunun çok büyük bir sorun olduğunu gösterdi. Demek ki yeni bir kavramla da karşı karşıyayız. Finansmanı çokça konuşurduk ya da merkez bankalarının rolleri daha ziyade para politikası ile ilgili olurdu. Bakıyoruz bugün Fed'den başlayarak merkez bankaları, biz mutluyuz tabii ki, yatırım kredilerine de direkt destekler veriyor. Demek ki bu Covid süreci sadece bir hastalık süreci olarak değil ama hayatımızı genel olarak yeniden şekillendiren bir sürece doğru dönüşüyor. Bu dönem içerisinde gördüğümüz iki gerçek var. Bazen soruyorlar, bazenden de fazla, peki bu dönemin sonrasında kazanan kim olacak diye. Kazananın kim ya da hangi sektörler olacağını bilmiyoruz. Ama bildiğimiz bir gerçek, tedarik zincirini bozmadan ayakta kalabilenler dönemin kazananları olacak. Ve dönemin anahtar kelimesi de güven olacak. Muhataplarına yeterli güvenini verenler zannederim bu sürecin kazananları olacak. Türkiye-Afrika ilişkilerimize geldiğimiz zaman, evet, Türkiye'nin bu noktadaki özel bir stratejisi var ve stratejisi de elbette kazanmak üzerine ama sadece tek taraflı bir kazanma değil, dostluk üzerine, karşılıklı kazanma üzerine kurulu bir stratejisi. Bu çerçevede sizler de gayet iyi biliyorsunuz ki DEİK olarak baktığımızda 54 ülkeye sahip Afrika'da 45 iş konseyimizin olması bizim Afrika'ya olan ilişkilerimize verdiğimiz öneminde çok önemli bir göstergesi. Berna Hanım biraz önceki konuşmasının içerisinde karamsarlık yok, Afrika'ya inanıyor ve güveniyoruz dedi. Evet, gerçekten inanıyoruz, karamsarlığımız yok. Hem ülkemize, Türkiye'ye güveniyoruz, hem Afrika'ya ve dostlarımıza güveniyoruz. Türkiye'nin de bu süreçte gösterdiği performans, bundan sonraki süreçteki büyüme dahil olmak üzere gerçekleştirmeleri de her zaman olduğu gibi, bunu maalesef ifade ediyorum, uluslararası kuruluşların beklentilerinin de üzerinde olacak. Çünkü biz uluslararası kuruluşlardan önümüzü açan doğru beklentiler isteriz. Ancak onlar geçmişi yorumlamayı tercih eder bir durumda kalıyorlar. Böyle bir çerçeve içerisinde Afrika ile ilişkilerimizi güçlendireceğine inandığım birkaç konuyu ben de dikkatinize sunmak isterim. Organize sanayi bölgeleri kültürü Türkiye'nin uzun yıllar önce başlattığı ve zannederim farklı büyüklüklerde olmak kaydıyla Afrika'ya daha fazla faydalı olabileceğimiz, bu konudaki hem know-how'umuzu hem de işbirliğimizi geliştirebileceğimiz bir alandır. Bir başka önemli unsur Türkiye'nin PPP alanındaki tecrübeleri. Evet, Türkiye bu konuda gerçekleştirmiş olduğu 100 milyar doların üzerindeki projeyle kendisini kanıtlamış durumda. Dostlarımıza hem bugüne kadar olduğu gibi biliyorsunuz DEİK'in bir PPP komitesi var ve Afrika'dan dostlarımız da o komitenin faaliyetlerine katılıyorlar ama sadece faaliyetlere katılmak değil, proje bazında da daha fazla işbirliği yapabileceğimizi düşünüyoruz. Tarım konusunda yeterince konuşulmuştur. Sadece bir başlık olduğunu hatırlatmak istiyorum. Elbette belli alanlardaki liman ya da havaalanlarındaki ortak işletmecilikler bunlardan önemli alanlardan bir tanesi. Bu noktadaki sanayileşme tecrübemizin aktarılmasının önemli olacağı konusunu ifade ettikten sonra Ticaret Bakanlığımızın üzerinde çalıştığı 5 yerdeki lojistik merkezi projesinin de zannederim ilişkilerimizi oldukça ivmelendireceğini düşünüyoruz. Bunu Tunus'ta, Kamerun'da, Güney Afrika'da, Kenya'da ve Gana'da bu projeler düşünülüyor. Son derece önem verdiğimizi ifade etmek istiyorum. DEİK olarak bu faaliyetlerimizi gerçekleştirirken son bir bilgiyi de paylaşmak isterim. Büyükelçi Williams da geçenlerde sormuştu. 8-9 Ekim tarihlerinde İstanbul'da gerçekleştirmeyi planladığımız Türkiye-Afrika 3. Afrika Ekonomi ve İş Forumu ne olacak diye. Şu ana kadarki yaptığımız görüşmelerde görünen o ki biz o görüşmeyi de bugün olduğu gibi sanal ortamda gerçekleştireceğiz. Ben bu noktada da büyükelçilerimizin bugüne kadar olduğu gibi bizlerle birlikte faaliyetlerimize her türlü desteği vereceğine inanıyor. Şimdiden teşekkür ediyorum. Ve sözlerimi o meşhur Afrika atasözlerinden birisiyle bitirmek istiyorum. Hani hızlı gitmek istiyorsan yalnız git, uzağa gitmek istiyorsan beraber git denilen noktadaki gibi biz sizlerle uzağa ve birlikte gitmek istiyoruz diyor. Hepinizi saygıyla selamlıyorum.
Mr. Olpak, thank you for your enlightening speech. Thank you all for those insights. Now we will continue with the discussion part, which is moderated by Uğur Erdoğan.
Merhabalar, sesim geliyor sanırım. Evet, ben de ilk önce bütün değerli katılımcılara hoş geldiniz diyorum. Değerli iş insanlarına, panelimize katılan Türkiye'den ve yurt dışından, değerli bakanlıklarımızın bürokrat ve diplomatlarına, Sayın DEİK Başkanıma ve değerli büyükelçilere hoş geldiniz demek istiyorum. Ben Uğur Erdoğan, İstanbul Üniversitesi öğretim üyesiyim. Türkiye'nin kurum bazında, kamu bazında ve özel bazda yaptığı Afrika ile ilgili belli projelerin yöneticisiyim. Bugün sizinle Covid öncesi Afrika ile ilişkilerimiz ve Covid sonrası neler bekliyoruz, beklentilerimiz neler? Bunlarla ilgili panelimize geçmeden kısa bir bilgi vermek istiyorum. Tabii Afrika bizim için farklı bir yerde, Türkiye için farklı bir yerde. Biz Afrika ile ilişkilerimize bir ticari ortaklık olarak bakmıyoruz. Hep bu çalışmalara başlarken adlandırdığımız bir şey vardı. Biz bunu bir special friendship olarak adlandırdık. Özel bir dostluk dedik Afrika ile olan ilişkilerimize. Genel bazda baktığımızda da aslında bunu görüyorsunuz. Türkiye son yıllarda Afrika ile ilgili çalışmalarını çok fazla arttırdı. 42 tane büyükelçiliğimiz oldu Afrika'da. Ticaret Bakanlığımızın 24 ateşeliği oldu. TİKA 21 ofise ulaştı. Tabii emekleri çok yoğun olan DEİK, başkanım da bahsetti, 45 iş konseyiyle Afrika'da yer almaya başladı. Aynı zamanda eğitim bakımından baktığınızda, örneğin benim üniversitem İstanbul Üniversitesi, birçok Afrikalı öğrencimiz var. Hatta 2019 yılında Afrika'da 11 ülkede sınav yaptık. Yani reel olarak orada öğrencileri seçme sınavını Afrika'nın 11 farklı ülkesinde yaptık. Binlerce öğrenci başvurdu üniversitemize. Tabii bu açılardan baktığımızda Afrika bizim için önemli bir ortak, önemli bir partner ülke. Tabii bütün bunlar aynı zamanda ekonomiye de yansıyor. Bugün sayın büyükelçilerle bunları konuşacağız. Bugünkü panelist büyükelçiler aslında Türkiye'nin Afrika ile ticaretinde önemli orana sahip olan ülkelerin büyükelçileri. Sayın büyükelçilerin konuşma yapacağı 7 ülke Türkiye'nin 2019 yılında Afrika ile yaptığı ticaretin yaklaşık %35'ini yaptığımız ülkeler. Önemi bizim açımızdan büyük. Afrika ile ticaret rakamlarını düşündüğümüzde 2019 yılında 22,4 milyar dolara ulaştık ticarette. Önceki yıllara göre çok hızlı bir artış sağladık ama bunu yeterli görüyor muyuz? Yeterli görmüyoruz. 22,4 milyar dolar önceki yıllara göre büyük rakamlar ama hala dünyayla yaptığımız ticaretin sadece %5.6'sı Afrika ile yaptığımız ticaret. Bunları mutlaka geliştirmenin yollarını arıyoruz. Tabii özellikle altını çizeceğim bir noktada Türk Hava Yolları'nın buradaki konumu. Türk Hava Yolları Şubat ayında uçmaya başladığı Ekvator Ginesi ile birlikte Afrika'da 60 noktaya uçmaya başladı. 60 nokta dünya havacılığında çok ciddi bir rakamdır aslında. Şöyle karşılaştırmak gerekirse hemen Türk Hava Yolları'nın ardından Afrika'da en fazla uçan ikinci havayolu olan havayolu 34 noktaya uçuyor. Yani ikinciyle aramızda neredeyse 2 kat fazlalık var. Pandemide bu önemli bir artı oldu. Malumunuz pek çok ülkeye uçuşlar, yolcu uçuşları durmuş durumda. Tabii ticaret verilerini, bu tür şeyleri günlük takip ediyoruz. Örneğin Kenya, Sayın Büyükelçisi de bugün konuşacak. Yolcu uçakları uçmuyor ama dün Kenya'da Türk Hava Yolları'nın 2 kargo uçağı vardı. Kenya'dan, Nairobi'den yük alan. Biri Madagaskar'dan gelmişti, biri Johannesburg'dan gelmişti. Oralardan aldıkları yüklerin haricinde Nairobi'de de yükleme yaptılar ve Londra ve Hollanda için bugün sabah hareket ettiler. Hala Afrika'nın kargolarını taşımaya, yükünü taşımaya ciddi bir şekilde devam ediyor Türk Hava Yolları. Niye bu bizim açımızdan önemli? Sayın Başkanım da lojistikten bahsetti. Hava kargo dünyada miktar olarak az görülebilir ama rakam olarak, değer olarak dünya ticaretinin %35'ini taşır. 2019 yılında 35.2 idi hava kargonun dünyadaki ticaretteki payı. Ona ayrı bir önem veriyoruz. Tabii Afrika ile ilişkilerimiz sadece ticaret bazında değil. 2015 yılında Birleşmiş Milletler'de bütün dünya ülkelerinin imzaladığı kalkınma hedefleri, sürdürülebilir kalkınma hedefleri, Sustainable Development Goals. Burada birçok şey var. Açlığa son verilmesi, gerekli sağlık, eğitiminin sağlanması, 17 tane hedef. Bütün bunlarda Türkiye önemli bir partner Afrika için. Pandemi dönemi hepimize bir takım şeyler öğretti. Tabii birçok panelde bana o soru geliyor. Bundan sonra dünya ekonomisinde neler olacak, neler yapılacak, dünya ticareti nerelere gidecek diye. Aslında neleri gördük? Bir kere önemli altyapılara sahip olmamız gerektiğini gördük. Bunlardan bir tanesi sağlık altyapısı. Healthcare infrastructure dünyadaki pandemi sonrası ekonomide önemli bir noktaya gelecek. Belli şeyleri de gördük. Tedarik zincirinin bizim için ne kadar önemli olduğu, lojistik ve tedarik zincirinin kırılmaması gerektiğini. Bir başka şey dijital altyapının. Bu bazen dijital ödeme sistemleridir, bazen dijital aplikasyonlardır. Dijital ekonominin önemini gördük. Tabii bunlar altyapılı, önemli altyapı çalışmaları gerektiren yatırımlar. Bu konuda Türkiye ile Afrika, ben inanıyorum ki önümüzdeki dönemde özellikle public-private partnership'lerle, bir takım yatırımlarla önemli birliktelik yapacaklar. Türkiye'deki teknoparklar, Türkiye'deki şirketler bu konularda Afrika ile birlikte yol alacaklar. Tabii önümüzdeki günler bütün bu çalışmalarda aynı moralle, aynı hevesle devam edeceğimizi düşünüyorum. Benim çok kısa söylemek istediklerim bunlar. İlk Büyükelçimize, Ruanda Büyükelçisi, Sayın Büyükelçi olarak görüyorum. Sözü ona vermek istiyorum. Sayın Büyükelçi Türkiye'de 4. yılını doldurdu. Artık Türkiye'yi de çok iyi tanıyor. Yes, Your Excellency, we are with you, we are listening you. Thank you.
I have a feeling that is the ambassador of Rwanda you're calling.
Sorry?
Now, as I didn't hear you correctly, I didn't hear whether you were saying the ambassador of Rwanda should be speaking.
Oh, yeah, sir, please.
Yeah, okay, thank you so much. I'm sorry I didn't hear you correctly. Let me start by thanking all the speakers that have spoken before me. And I want to join them in commending the government of Turkey and our leadership in Africa for their vision they have demonstrated over the last decade for developing a greater Turkey-Africa partnership. And it is gratifying to note that as we stand today, democracy between Turkey and Africa has expanded, trade has increased, investments are picking up, and professional projects are expanding across the whole continent for the benefit of Turkish, especially Turkish construction companies, and of course the demands for infrastructure projects across the continent. In Rwanda alone, Turkish construction companies have completed about projects worth about $400 million, and over the continent, as we have heard, they have done projects worth 60 billion or so over the years. We commend the government of Turkey for the work that has been done in expanding its diplomatic footprint across the continent. And we commend DEİK for the role it has done in promoting trade and investment between Turkey and the continent. But past gains notwithstanding, we all agree, as the previous speakers have said, that the challenge as we go forward is going to be on how we agree on ways of deepening economic engagement between Africa and Turkey. And in our view in Rwanda, we see 4 areas of engagement that would help to expand greater benefits for both Africa and for Turkey. And that is collaboration in expanding engagement within industrial development, engagement in infrastructure development, engagement in innovation, and engagement in smart trade, especially through what Niall has talked about, setting up these logistics centers in 5 African countries. But we also need to take this particular concept inland. Right now, we are focusing on the shorelines of Africa, but there is a greater population within the heartland of Africa that require similar facilities, and we would like to see redistribution centers being set up in the heartland of Africa to be able to get goods closer to the teeming millions of Africans who do not have access to the shores. Now, in the area of industrial development, infrastructure development, innovation, and smart trade, there is no debate that Turkey has tremendous potential in these areas. That is demonstrated, it is understood. It is also understood that Africa represents tremendous opportunities for Turkish businesses, both industrialists and investors, in these 4 areas. Today, as we are 1.3 billion people, there's tremendous work, there's tremendous opportunity. But by 2050, the 1.3 billion Africans will have grown to 2.5 billion Africans. It will no longer be possible to service the needs of the continent from factories in Mesin, in Konya, in Busa, in Adana. We need to expand Turkey's economic space by expanding Turkish industries to create a presence in Africa. Our dean, the ambassador of Djibouti, gave you proper figures. The way Africa is going, where Africa is going, it is going into a space where greater local production is going to become different. Within the framework of this, the whole spirit of Africa's CFTA, the Common Trade Area, as well as Vision 2063, is to build greater internal capacity, particularly within the industrial space, not only to add value to Africa's natural resources, which are enormous, and I'll share a bit of those with you now, but also to create jobs for the billions of young Africans that we see coming onto the workspace in the next 50, 100 years. And so industrial expansion is very good, not only for deepening our economies, but also for creating jobs. And if I may point at a few examples where Turkey could move in. And I would like to use Rwanda as an example, as a small microcosm of what Africa is and the opportunities it represents for Turkey. Today, Turkish investments in Rwanda are about 379 million, which represents about 13% of the FDI stock in Rwanda. Now, this may seem significant, but there's still a lot of room for increasing this volume of investment. Turkish construction companies, like I have said, have already completed a project worth about $400 million. But there is a lot more work to be done, as I will show very soon. Imports from Turkey or trade between Turkey and Rwanda stand at roughly about $30 million. But compared to the $3 billion of imports of manufactured goods that we make every year, the 30 million is only about 1% of the money that we spend on imports. So there's still a lot of room for expanding trade between our two countries. Rwanda depends on imports for about 85% of the manufactured goods that we consume, which essentially means that there is a 94% industrial vacuum in our country that needs filling. And why can't it be Turkish companies? Like they have made investments within the energy sector in Rwanda, they can also make investments in manufacturing, especially because there is money, there is purchasing power requiring supplies of manufactured goods. Now, I said that as a continent, a lot of people are normally nervous about doing business in Africa. But as my colleagues are going to share with you, the Africa's business landscape, the Africa's economic landscape, Africa's security landscape is increasingly improving. Some of our countries are rated some of the most secure and safest in the world. Rwanda is rated as the second best place to do business in Africa. It is rated as the 5th most secure country in the world. It is regarded as the 7th most efficient state-run state in the world. And there are many other countries in Africa that are moving in the same direction, creating enabling environment that are going to enhance the capacity for Turkish businesses to come in, to trade, to invest, to execute projects in a safe, secure, and predictable environment. So we encourage you to come. And we encourage you to come now because preparing for the 2.5 billion people that we expect to populate Africa in 2050 requires that the work be done now, that we start doing now. And I commend those who spoke before, both from the Ministry of Trade and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, who talked about opportunities that they see available within the medical equipment space, the hygiene product space, agriculture, particularly in contract farming, as well as in the health sector. But there is still a lot of opportunity in other sectors. Think about the meaning of $2.5 billion people and the need for houses, and look at the opportunity for real estate that that population represents. Think about their need for energy, to drive industry, to drive transport, light up homes. We're going to need massive investments within the energy sector to meet the demands of a growing African population. That is an area that we need to go in. Think about mine. The continent has some of the richest mineral resources in the world. The continent controls 88% of the world's platinum, 84% of the world's bauxite, about 60% of the world's diamonds, 40% of the world's gold, 60% of the world's arable land, 40% of the world's, clean water resources. Now, all of these are resources that represent opportunities. So if Turkey is thinking about contract farming, I'm hoping it is contract farming tied to industrial capacity to add value to the agricultural produce. Because
Your Excellency, we have a small amount of time.
I am about to finish. You caught me when I was about to say thank you. So what I wanted to say in terms of the challenges that we need to address moving forward, it is really to see how we can increase increase work within the industrial development space, infrastructure development space, the innovation space, because your industry in Turkey is underpinned by a very rich culture and practices of innovation, as well as to find how to trade much more smartly than we've been doing. I thank you so much. I thank you. I surrender the floor.
Teşekkürler. Teşekkür ediyorum Sayın Büyükelçi'ye. Sayın Büyükelçi özellikle belli sektörlere, enerji sektörünün öneminden bahsetti. Tabii Türkiye'nin ticaretinin arttığını ama hala diğer ülkelerle yapılan ticaretle arasında çok fazla payın olmadığını, bunun yükselme imkanının yüksek olduğunu anlattı bize. Kendisine tekrar teşekkür ediyorum. Şimdi de Cezayir Büyükelçisi, Ekselansları Murat Ajabi, Your Excellency, we are listening you.
Teşekkür ediyorum. Sayın Başkan, müsaade ederseniz Fransızca konuşmak istiyorum.
You're welcome.
Merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président. Je voudrais tout d'abord adresser les plus vifs remerciements de l'ambassade d'Algérie à Ankara aux organisateurs pour nous avoir permis de nous réunir à l'effet de débattre d'un sujet extrêmement important dans un contexte mondial tout à fait exceptionnel. En effet, les relations entre la République de Turquie et le continent africain ont connu un développement remarquable durant la dernière décennie dans le cadre d'un partenariat gagnant-gagnant, alliant coopération économique, politique, culturelle, humanitaire et autres. Et l'année 2020 s'annonçait particulièrement prometteuse. Et d'ailleurs, elle a été entamée par un périple qui avait conduit le président Recep Tayyip Erdogan successivement en Algérie, d'abord, en Gambie et au Sénégal. Cette visite en Algérie qui était intervenue quelques semaines à peine après l'investiture de notre président Saad Majid Tebboune a donné lieu à des résultats extrêmement importants dans nombre de domaines d'une coopération mutuellement avantageuse, faisant d'ailleurs de l'Algérie le deuxième partenaire commercial de la Turquie en Afrique, avec un volume des échanges qui a dépassé en 2019 4 milliards de dollars et un stock des investissements de l'ordre de 3,5 milliards de dollars. Elle a également permis, entre autres, de programmer la reprise tant attendue des travaux de la commission mixte sur la coopération économique, scientifique et technique qui était prévue les 5 et 6 avril de cette année. Cette échéance importante ne s'est malheureusement pas concrétisée dans les délais prévus. Elle a été reportée sine die, car entre-temps, la crise de Covid-19 a éclaté et s'est propagée rapidement pour devenir un véritable désastre à l'échelle multidimensionnelle, à l'échelle du globe. En plus du lourd bilan au plan sanitaire, avec plus de 16 millions de cas d'infection et plus de 650 000 décès, le coronavirus, comme vous le savez, a engendré d'énormes pertes au plan économique, aussi bien pour les secteurs du transport aérien et du tourisme, et également pour le commerce et les petites et moyennes entreprises, en plus évidemment de nombreux autres secteurs d'activité. En Algérie, c'est juste pour vous donner une idée de la situation, le bilan au 27 juillet s'établissait à 27 973 cas d'infection, soit 1,4 cas pour 100 000 habitants, alors que le nombre des décès s'est élevé à plus de 1100 cas. Le pays, évidemment, a par ailleurs enregistré des cas de guérison de l'ordre de 18 000. Donc, outre le bilan humain qui ne cesse de s'alourdir, et on semble assister à une deuxième vague de la vie de cette pandémie. Donc, outre ce bilan humain, cette crise de coronavirus, couplée d'ailleurs à des prix du pétrole évoluant à des niveaux très faibles, a impacté très négativement les économies de la région africaine. D'après sa dernière mise à jour des perspectives économiques régionales, le Fonds monétaire international prévoit d'ailleurs une contraction du PIB de l'ordre de 5,7% en moyenne pour la région à laquelle appartient l'Algérie, c'est-à-dire la région du Moyen-Orient et d'Afrique du Nord. Selon les données de la Banque mondiale, il s'agit là de la projection la plus basse depuis 50 ans. De fait, le premier trimestre 2020, durant ce premier trimestre de l'année, l'économie algérienne a enregistré une croissance négative de moins 3,9% selon les chiffres de l'Office national des statistiques qui ont été publiés le 25 de ce mois. Les hydrocarbures, évidemment, viennent en tête des secteurs les plus touchés par la récession, avec une croissance négative à 2 chiffres, à savoir 13,4% contre 7% durant la même période de l'année 2019. Le secteur des transports et des communications ont également été énormément touchés, avec une croissance négative de moins 5% à peu près, devant l'hôtellerie et la restauration avec moins 2,7% et le commerce avec 1,5%. Évidemment, à l'instar des autres pays africains, l'Algérie s'emploie actuellement à faire face efficacement aux effets de cette situation sans précédent, et ce en traçant les grandes lignes d'un développement économique qui ne soit plus tributaire des exportations ou des recettes provenant des exportations des hydrocarbures, mais plutôt basé sur de nouveaux créneaux comme l'exploitation des ressources minières, la réforme de la fiscalité afin de permettre une meilleure couverture des besoins et le développement des énergies renouvelables et en particulier l'énergie solaire, l'Algérie disposant du plus grand Sahara désert au monde avec plus de 2 millions de kilomètres carrés. Afin de lancer cet important chantier, le président de la République, Moussa Abdelmadjid Tebboune, a présidé le 12 courant un conseil des ministres consacré à l'examen du plan national de relance socio-économique qui reposera sur 3 piliers essentiels, à savoir la diversification des ressources, des sources de croissance, l'économie du savoir et la gestion rationnelle des richesses nationales. Dans ce cadre, il est notamment prévu le développement de la micro-entreprise et des start-up, pour lesquelles d'ailleurs un fonds spécial a été dédié. Il est prévu également la relance de l'exploitation des mines à travers de nombreuses régions du pays et le développement de l'industrie pharmaceutique, secteur pour lequel un département ministériel
Your Excellency, I want to remind you the time.
Yes.
1 minute more. Yeah, please.
OK. C'est juste pour donner une indication des secteurs dans lesquels les entreprises turques pourraient opérer. Je voudrais, étant donné les contraintes du temps, conclure en disant notre conviction que mon pays, face à cette crise du Covid-19 qui requiert une solidarité internationale accrue, a permis de concrétiser de nouvelles expressions des liens d'amitié et de coopération entre l'Algérie et la Turquie, notamment avec un don du gouvernement turc consistant en divers équipements destinés à la lutte contre cette pandémie. Et par ailleurs, je voudrais dire que nous sommes certains que les profondes réformes structurelles actuellement en cours en Algérie ne manqueront pas de booster davantage les relations entre nos deux pays en multipliant les success stories enregistrées par un nombre croissant d'entreprises turques implantées en Algérie. Je vous remercie de votre attention.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Yes, now we will talk His Excellency Joseph Çilengi, Ambassador of Zambia to Turkey. Yes, Excellency.
Thank you so much, Mr. President. And let me also take this opportunity to thank DEİK and His Excellency the President for the leadership he's providing in enhancing potential opportunities between Turkey and Africa. And at the same time also thank the Turkish government through the Ministry of Trade and Foreign Affairs working together day and night to try to enhance these opportunities. My country, Zambia and Turkey, the relationship is quite new, I must admit. And so there is a lot that these two countries have to learn about each other. And there is also a lot of potential that exists between these two countries. We are new in the sense that in my presentation, I'll be able to highlight the opportunities that exist between the two countries. But I'll also highlight 2 challenges that we think we should work together as countries to overcome. Zambia is a population of 17 million, of almost the same size as Turkey. We are 852,000 square kilometers. Turkey is 80 something. And therefore, we are strategically located in the Southern African region. We are land-linked, not landlocked, but land-linked, surrounded by 8 other countries. We are 2 hours, 45 minutes from Nairobi. We are 45 minutes to Harare. We are 1 hour, 45 minutes to Johannesburg. We are 3 hours and a half to Addis Ababa. And we are 2 hours to Dar es Salaam, and we are 7 hours and 50 minutes direct flight to Istanbul. But in terms of our economy by numbers, our inflation rate as 2018, that's the CPI, is at 7.4. And our GDP, of course, is at 25.8 billion. And our per capita income is 1,613. Projected growth has been at 5% as 2018. And so in terms of numbers, I think we are well set. But as a country, in terms of business reforms, Zambia is notable in the rankings of business reform improvements. The World Bank in 2017 ranked Zambia as the 4th ease of doing business in COMESA. COMESA is a 14-member country with a population of 450 million people. We are 4th in SADC, Southern Africa Development Community, is a 290 million population free trade area. COMESA is a 450 million free trade area. In 6th in Southern Africa, in terms of ease of doing business, we are 85 in the world. We are the 4th most peaceful country as at the Global Peace Index of 2020. Now, in terms of doing business, the World Bank rates Zambia as the top 10 economies that are showing notable improvement in doing business in the world. In terms of our growing regional market, of course, like I've mentioned, investing in Zambia, doing business in Zambia, it means you are doing business within free trade zone before the CFTA came through. We have a tripartite free trade area which integrates 26 markets, 26 countries, with a total population of 650 million people, with an approximate GDP of $1.3 trillion. And so we are talking about the SADC, East African Community, and COMESA. Now, in terms of investment in Zambia, I wish to highlight the priority sectors just for information. First is, of course, manufacturing, and it's important to understand that Zambia has a lot of raw materials. From cotton, I think we have the best timber in the world, and also we have the best environment for growing timber. There is, in the agricultural sector, we have deliberate farming activities. We are giving out 100,000 hectares of land to every potential agriculture investor now. And that comes also with the zero-rated equipment that you bring in for agriculture. That is tax-free. We are prioritizing infrastructure. We are rebuilding our railway, airports. We have a shortfall of 1.3 million housing units, and we want to fill that gap. So the private sector in Turkey has that potential to move in and collaborate. We are rebuilding our infrastructure in roads, hospitals, universities, etc., etc. The energy sector, Zambia is at a deficit of about 2,000 megawatts because of the increase in agricultural production. And so there is a gap for energy. To enhance that and collaborate, we have zero-rated any equipment for energy, from gensets to solar equipment, and anything that is energy-related, it comes into a country investment duty-free in order to close that gap. We are the 4th largest producer of copper in Africa, and therefore we have a huge opportunity in mining. Recently now we have almost 126 gold currencies. 26 of these are alluvial gold. They are open up to market for investment. And then the tourism sector, we have the 2 master plans, and therefore we can link up, and the weather it could be the alternative for tourism marketing. That when it is windy, we could link up with Zambia, and then tourism can grow in there. But there is one issue that I need to flag out, and this is the issue of the internationalization of Turkish entrepreneurship. I think it is important that that should be prioritized by Turkey, like any other country, like my dear brother, His Excellency, Ambassador of Rwanda mentioned that the population is huge, and therefore we have to start working together inside in this regard. Now, we have a total land area of 75 million hectares in agriculture. 42 million hectares, which is 58%, is arable land, but currently we are only utilizing 14%. Total irrigation potential is 2.7 million hectares. We are only utilizing 6% currently. Sector includes also livestock, crop, fisheries, and forestry, like I mentioned. Investment opportunities exist in farming block. In contract farming, we have 1,000 hectares of land we give free of charge for you to invest in agriculture. And we have 3 agroecological regions: rain, for soil, and crop suitability. So there is huge potential there, with the rainfall ranging from 800 millimeters per month, per annum, to 1,000 millimeters per annum, within that range. In terms of manufacturing, like I mentioned, the sector accounts for 11% of our GDP. Investment potential is supported by abundant raw materials, qualified labor, abundant land, water, and rich minerals. So there is opportunities in agro-processing, edible oil and food processing, mineral processing, like gold. Now we are looking for potential partners to process gold. Light engineering, in particular agricultural equipment, which also is zero rated when it goes into Zambia. The energy sector, I mentioned the electricity, petroleum, biogas, and renewable energy like solar. The market is huge. The demand for electricity is expected to exceed 2,000 megawatts in this regard, and therefore there is opportunities for solar energy. We have 3,000 sunshine hours annually, which is enough for that. Geothermal plants, biofuel, all those, and including petroleum now. And Turkey and Zambia have started discussing cooperation and signing an MOU in the field of mining and mineral cooperation.
Excuse me, Your Excellency, 1 minute more, the time is running.
Winding up. You took away 3 of my seconds, but I'll wind up, I'll capture them up. So the government therefore invites private sector to finance infrastructure projects through PPP. And these are huge. But I wanted to talk about the tax incentives that we have in the manufacturing and energy, agriculture, agro-processing, and construction. Now, in talking about the 2 challenges that we need to work together between Africa and Turkey, in conclusion, is the issue of misinformation and disinformation agenda by those that are fighting against our project. I think we have a huge gap here. We have CNN in Africa, we have Al Jazeera, we have BBC, but we don't have TRT, which is our tool of debunking this misinformation and disinformation agenda, which is the tool others use to debunk our progress. The second aspect and final one is the financial sector. We can't grow as Africa and do trade with a potential 2.5 billion population and using other financial institutions and infrastructure. You use Barclays Bank, which is not Turkish. You use Citibank, it's not Turkish. You use China Africa Bank, is not Indo Bank is not. So there is need for the financial sector to move into Africa. I've had 3 meetings with the Ziraat Bank and 1 meeting with the Central Bank of Turkey to discuss this, because it's an infrastructure that is as business than to deal with the continent using other infrastructure where we have political whatever manipulation and etc. etc. So I thank you for that.
Thank you. Teşekkür ediyorum Sayın Büyükelçi. Sayın Büyükelçi bazı noktaların altını çizdi tabii konuşmasında. Buradan benim tekrar bir belirtmek istediğim, özellikle tarım alanında Zambiya'nın teşviklerinden bahsetti. Tarım alanında önemli fırsatlar olduğundan bahsetti ve konuşmasının sonunda da Türk finans sektörünün yabancı bankaların orada varlığından, Türk finans sektörünün de orada olmasının sadece Zambiya için değil, Afrika'nın güneyi için, Afrika'nın güneyindeki ülkeler için önemli olduğunu belirtti. Kendisine çok teşekkür ediyorum. Bir sonraki konuşmacımız Kenya Büyükelçisi Ekselansları Johnson Kimani Ondike.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I must thank the conveners of this meeting.
Welcome, Your Excellency.
And both the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and also the Ministry of Trade. This is a very critical meeting that will enhance our understanding between our brotherly and friendly continents. That is the continent of Africa and Turkey, of course, being in Europe and Asia. As you are aware, most issues in Africa are dealt bilaterally. Let us not forget that whatever decisions are made in AU, they are implemented bilaterally. And therefore, all partnerships that we are talking about, in most cases, will be within Turkey and the countries that want to partner. And therefore, on Kenya, Kenya has maintained a very cordial relations with Turkey for a very long time. Turkey having established the relationship in 1968, although we came in 2012, but we were covering this area from another nearest country. But since 1 decade ago, or 2008, I think Turkey's presence in Africa has increased tremendously and therefore has become an important partner in whatever that we want to do. And in the world stage, we cannot do anything and Turkey is not within scene. And therefore, this is very important that decisions that we make in terms of our trade, Turkey is brought on board. For Kenya, we have quite a lot of things that we're doing together with Turkey. Of course, the volume of trade is now increased to almost $400 million in a year, which is very high. Of course, it is in favor of Turkey. For Kenya, it is only about $50 to $60 million that we're exporting. And this is in the area of fresh produce. As you are aware, Kenya is very good in flower farming, is very good in tea, which we have a challenge in Turkey and we need our tea to come here. And that's what I'm asking DEİK to do. We have a lot of fruits and vegetables that we are doing to other European countries, which we need to do to Turkey. At the same time, Kenya's agenda is anchored in what we are calling Vision 2030. Vision 2030 in Kenya means that within the year 2030, we need to be a proper middle-income country. Of course, we are nearly there. And therefore, within this, there are major areas that we must look at and partner with Turkey. And this, we have narrowed them down to what we are calling the 4 big agenda. This is in the area on manufacturing, in the area of food security, in the area of universal health care. Just to mention the 3, And with this, there are two elements. One element is what we can contract, and companies from Turkey can be able to be paid on a contractual basis, meaning the contract is floated and a Turkish company bids for that project and is paid. And we have another portion of what we are calling private partnership. For example, in housing, Kenya's agenda in the next 2 years will require 500 units of housing in various forms. And we have floated this to the international community all over the world. A few countries have taken up to 20,000 housing, 50,000 housing, but the Turkish companies have been left behind. Why? I think you have a challenge in funding, because if you want to get projects in an African country, you must come with funding. If you believe that the companies or the governments will contract you and pay, that might be a challenge for Africa. What we require, you come with funding, we negotiate the funding, and then we give you the project. The second one is you come, we negotiate, you put up the houses, you put up a road, a railway, or even in the energy sector, development of geothermal energy. Then from there, we partner with you, you develop it within a particular period. So in Kenya, we have very major high intensity projects that we want carried out, and we are looking for major partners. We want in the near future, our fresh produce to be produce that is already processed to a particular extent before it is brought maybe to Turkey, like the way we do with tea. Tea is processed. By the time it reaches Turkey, you order maybe packaged and sell. So this is what we are looking for. We are not looking for just DEİK to do business in Kenya or just exporting. No, we must have partnership in terms of you coming to settle in Kenya. We have areas that we are calling free zone areas, free trade zone areas, where the government has given free incentives, gives the land, you manufacture, you export to the world, not necessarily to Kenya. You export to the world. And when you export the world, that is duty-free from Kenya. So we require this to be set up. And many countries, many groups have taken up these spaces, and they are now developing them. One is in Mombasa, which is the coastal city and entry to the region of East Africa. Another one is in Nairobi. Another one is in a place called Konza. Another one is in Naivasha. And all these is railway linked and sea linked to these areas. So it is very easy for one to manufacture, put in the railway or by road and export to whichever country that you want to do. So we are looking for partnership with the Turkey government itself, Turkey business people, and all those that wish to do business with Kenya. Remember, Kenya does not depend on one commodity for its economy. We recently discovered oil. Now we are trying to make sure that the oil reaches the international market. So we have major projects of the pipeline. We have major projects of the seaports. We have major projects of processing the oil. And then we have the agricultural sector, which is our mainstream, that all the foodstuffs that we produce is consumed within Kenya and the African market and East Africa, of course. And Kenya also want to have their people in good health. There is a very big opportunity for investment in health. People come with private partnership, put up hospitals, and then the people will be able to come into your hospital for any other ailment that they may have. So therefore, Let me conclude by saying that as you look to Africa, you must look at what potential it has. It has a big potential, a big market. Remember, my friends have already talked about the continental free trade area. My ambassador from Zambia has said we are within the East African region. We are still within COMESA. We are still within SADC, and all that is a market within East Africa. And therefore, we wish that the taxi companies take this opportunity to venture into Africa, and incentives that are being provided now by many governments in Africa, especially in Kenya, are very high. We have a very stable financial system.
Your Excellency, a kind reminder about the time.
Okay, thank you. I'm finishing. We have a very sound financial system, a very sound mobile financial system. Our GDP is very high. Expected economic growth post-COVID will be about 4%. Thank you and most welcome to Kenya. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Sayın Büyükelçi'ye çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sayın Büyükelçi ülkesiyle ilgili konuşurken tabii belli alanlardan bahsetti. Konuşmasının son bölümünde sağlık sektörüne, sağlık alanlarındaki yatırımın önemine bize anlattı. Aynı zamanda oradaki yatırımların fonlanması gerektiğinin öneminden bahsetti. Konuşmanın başında taze çiçekten de bahsetti. Örneğin kendi konuşmamda da bahsettiğim Türk Hava Yolları Kargo'nun Kenya'dan en fazla taşıdığı şey çiçektir. Türk Hava Yolları Kargo tonlarca çiçeği her gün Nairobi Havalimanı'ndan Londra'ya ve Masri'ye taşır. Öyle önemli de bir üründür hem Kenya için hem Türk Hava Yolları için. Ben Sayın Büyükelçi'ye teşekkür ediyorum. Thank you, Your Excellency. Şimdi sırada diğer büyükelçimiz, Fil Dişi Büyükelçisi Ekselansları Khadija Touare. Excellency Khadija Touare, Ambassador of Côte d'Ivoire. Yes, Your Excellency.
Merci.
Merci.
Merci. Thank you. Merhaba.
Merhaba.
Alors, Monsieur le Président de la DEİK, Excellences, Mesdames et Messieurs les ambassadeurs, honorables participants, Mesdames et Messieurs, au moment où le monde entier fait face à l'une des pires pandémies de son histoire, la COVID-19, il convient en effet de penser à des alternatives innovantes qui permettent de faire de façon efficace face aux problèmes et difficultés généralisées de tous ordres, notamment économiques, engendrées par la crise sanitaire qui se révèle finalement également sociale et économique. À cet égard, je voudrais adresser des remerciements et des félicitations à la Turquie pour l'importance qu'elle accorde à ses relations avec l'Afrique. J'ai d'ailleurs pu bénéficier de cette position privilégiée puisque j'ai présenté mes lettres de créance à son Excellence, Monsieur le Président Erdogan, le 14 juillet dernier, dès la reprise des activités. Je remercie également l'ensemble des participants, des intervenants, et particulièrement la DEİK pour l'initiative et l'organisation de cette rencontre. En ce qui concerne mon pays, la Côte d'Ivoire,
say welcome to our country. I know that this is your first days in Turkey, so you're welcome.
Merci. Merci. Merci beaucoup. Merci.
Yeah.
Merci. En ce qui concerne mon pays, la Côte d'Ivoire, mon intervention donc s'articulera autour de 3 points, à savoir quelques généralités, la gestion de la crise sanitaire et les perspectives, et enfin les opportunités d'affaires en Côte d'Ivoire. Concernant les généralités, juste pour rappel, la Côte d'Ivoire est un pays d'Afrique de l'Ouest avec environ 600 km de frontières maritimes sur l'Atlantique, ce qui est un avantage comparatif. Avec le choc mondial provoqué par la pandémie du coronavirus, la Côte d'Ivoire continuait d'afficher l'une des croissances économiques les plus fortes du continent africain et du monde, projetée à 7% en 2020, avec une progression moyenne de près de 8% par an depuis 2012. Anticipant l'impact économique du Covid-19, le gouvernement ivoirien table désormais sur un taux prévisionnel de 3,5% du fait de la chute de la demande internationale des produits agricoles, notamment du cacao et de l'anacarde, et du ralentissement de l'activité domestique. Il convient de relever, entre autres, que la Côte d'Ivoire représente à elle seule 40%, la Côte d'Ivoire pèse pour 40% dans l'Union économique et monétaire ouest-africaine. Le pays, vous le savez, est le premier producteur de fèves de cacao et de noix de cajou. Nous sommes également en bonne position en ce qui concerne la production de café, de coton, d'huile de palme, de caoutchouc, de fruits, etc. Nous produisons de l'or, du diamant, du manganèse, du fer, du colombite, du bauxite, du phosphate. Nous disposons également de pétrole, de gaz naturel et d'énergie hydroélectrique. S'agissant de nos chiffres du commerce avec le partenaire privilégié qu'est la Turquie, il se chiffre à hauteur de 450 millions de dollars, l'objectif étant d'atteindre le milliard de dollars. Alors, la gestion de la crise sanitaire et les perspectives. En Côte d'Ivoire, comme au plan international, le contexte de la croissance économique est fortement marqué par les conséquences liées aux mesures de protection prises dans le cadre de la lutte contre la pandémie de la COVID-19. Face à la crise, la Côte d'Ivoire conserve des performances solides en dépit de tout. Les mesures proactives adoptées par le gouvernement ivoirien, la prise en charge totale des malades, le professionnalisme et la solidité du système de santé ivoirien ont permis de contenir efficacement l'évolution de la pandémie, faisant de la Côte d'Ivoire l'un des pays avec un taux de mortalité très bas, à savoir 0,63% de décès et 61,38% de patients guéris. L'économie a résisté grâce aux atouts majeurs que constituent les facilités d'investissement, de création d'entreprises, la présence d'infrastructures modernes d'énergie, de communication, de transport sur toute l'étendue du territoire ivoirien et une population à majorité jeune et bien formée. Pour une réponse plus ciblée à la pandémie, le gouvernement ivoirien a adopté, en plus du plan de riposte sanitaire, un plan de soutien économique, social et humanitaire évalué à 1 700 milliards de francs CFA, soit 3 milliards de dollars. Et ce plan vise à réduire les vulnérabilités et se décline en 3 axes, à savoir des mesures de soutien aux entreprises, des mesures d'appui à l'économie, des mesures sociales en faveur des populations. Le gouvernement ivoirien, dans ce contexte, est actuellement dans une phase de retour à la normalisation avec la reprise des activités économiques et des transports aériens, routiers, maritimes, internationaux et nationaux. Sur ce point précis, je voudrais vous conseiller, mesdames et messieurs, honorables invités, à visiter régulièrement le site Internet de l'ambassade de Côte d'Ivoire et à contacter nos services compétents afin de vous garantir les dernières informations actualisées liées aux conditions de déplacement vers la Côte d'Ivoire. La proximité des élections présidentielles programmées en octobre 2020 et la crise sanitaire liée à la pandémie du coronavirus constituent certes des éléments de préoccupation diverses dont les autorités ivoiriennes sont pleinement conscientes, d'où l'adoption de plusieurs mesures pour encadrer les secteurs économiques. Le constat actuel fait état d'une progression des performances dans les secteurs primaires et secondaires, malgré la présence de la pandémie. En vue de préserver ces secteurs clés de l'économie ivoirienne, le gouvernement envisage d'apporter un soutien aux principales filières d'exportation, notamment les filières café-cacao, coton anacarde et EVA palmier à huile, pour un montant de 250 milliards de francs CFA, environ 450 millions de dollars. Les cultures vivrières, maraîchères et fruitières pourront également tirer profit de l'appui de l'État avec un montant de 50 milliards de francs CFA, soit 90 millions de dollars. Dans la dynamique du gouvernement ivoirien de transformation de l'économie et de valorisation des secteurs primaires et secondaires, malgré la pandémie du Covid-19, je voudrais inviter les entreprises turques a saisi l'opportunité du besoin de création d'industries de pré-transformation et de transformation des matières premières produites en Côte d'Ivoire pour créer des partenariats avec des entreprises ivoiriennes pour établir des unités de transformation. À cet égard, le guichet unique de création des entreprises du Centre de promotion des investissements en Côte d'Ivoire permet, avec une partie de ces procédures réalisées en ligne, de prendre un rendez-vous afin de démarrer les formalités de création d'une entreprise dans un délai de 24 heures. Dans le même contexte, le Code d'investissement accorde des facilités permettant aux entreprises créées d'obtenir des protocoles d'exonération totale de la TVA, de réduction des droits de douane jusqu'à 50% et de réduction de diverses autres taxes allant de 25% à 100% pour une durée maximum de 15 ans selon la région du pays où vous installez votre entreprise. Les opportunités d'affaires, je vais un peu vite pour ne pas épuiser mon temps. Les opportunités d'affaires en Côte d'Ivoire. Alors, l'amélioration du climat des affaires à travers des réformes juridiques courageuses demeure une priorité pour les autorités ivoiriennes. Depuis 2011, de nombreux progrès ont été réalisés, notamment sur le plan juridique, à travers l'adoption de divers codes. Un code des investissements qui est très attractif, un code minier, un code d'électricité, divers codes, même un code des télécommunications. Et des réformes également sur le plan institutionnel à travers la création des tribunaux de commerce. En 2018, puis en 2019...
Your Excellency, a kind reminder about the time.
Alors, donc... D'accord, ok. Donc, je vais aller rapidement pour vous préciser quelques opportunités d'affaires dans des secteurs précis. Alors, au niveau du secteur primaire, vous avez de réelles opportunités dans le domaine de l'agriculture industrielle. Au niveau du secteur secondaire, l'agro-industrie, les BTP, la construction. D'ailleurs, la plupart des entreprises turques installées en Côte d'Ivoire sont dans le domaine de la construction et des BTP. Également dans le domaine des infrastructures économiques. Nous avons également des besoins urgents dans le domaine de l'industrie pharmaceutique. Alors, juste pour vous donner une idée des besoins de logement en Côte d'Ivoire, par exemple, dans le domaine de la construction, le besoin est de 1 million de logements avec une moyenne de 600 000 pour la seule ville d'Abidjan, la capitale économique de la Côte d'Ivoire. Nous avons également il y a également des opportunités au niveau du secteur tertiaire, notamment dans le domaine des transports, de la technologie, du tourisme, de l'hôtellerie et de la santé. Voilà, j'aurais pu développer un peu plus, mais je vous donne déjà ces informations. Alors, en conclusion, je voudrais vous dire, mesdames et messieurs, distingués invités, que la Côte d'Ivoire est engagée sur le sentier d'une croissance forte et soutenue grâce au secteur privé dynamique et compétitif. L'environnement des affaires est en constante amélioration. Les perspectives économiques sont prometteuses et soutenues par la mise en œuvre de grands projets structurants. La destination Côte d'Ivoire est de plus en plus attractive auprès des investisseurs internationaux. Et vous savez que la Côte d'Ivoire est la porte d'entrée sur l'Afrique, le marché de l'Afrique de l'Ouest, un marché de plus de 300 millions de consommateurs. Je vous remercie. Merci de votre patience.
Thank you. Sayın Büyükelçi'ye çok teşekkür ediyorum. Sayın Büyükelçi'nin konuşmasından hemen bir iki satırın altına çizmek gerekirse One Stop Agency'den bahsetti kendisi. İlişkiler kıyısının yatırım ajansından ve önemli bir noktaydı. 24 saatte kuruluşuyla ilgili bize bir not iletti. Hızlı bürokrasinin hızlı işlediğiyle ilgili. Belli sektörlerin ön planda olduğunu söyledi. Tabii aslında hepiniz de gördünüz sunumdan tarım, balıkçılık gibi sektörlerin primary sektörler olarak teşviklerde önde yer aldığını söyledi. Kendisine ben çok teşekkür ediyorum ve Türkiye'ye yeni atandığı için tekrar kendisine hoş geldiniz diyorum. Teşekkür ediyorum. Şimdi diğer konuşmacımız Güney Afrika'dan, Güney Afrika Büyükelçiliğinden Bay Tesappa Ranamay. Welcome.
Your Excellency, the Dean of the African Diplomatic Corps, Excellencies, Heads of Mission, the leadership of and the representation from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the leadership of DEİK, President Nail Olpak, distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. It is with great pleasure and honor to form part of this highly necessary occasion. Allow me to express my deepest gratitude to the leadership of DEİK for dedicating time and energy to ensure that this arrangement is well organized. The stewardship of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the coordination by our Dean are also recognized. 2020 is a year of global common learning. With the passing of Mr. George Floyd, we have learned, and to some extent, to some of us, we are reminded of the reality and the systems in which we live in. Irrespective of race, age, and gender, the greatest common lesson for everyone this year is COVID-19. It is an indiscriminate and non-classist enemy. Essentially, what COVID-19 is telling us is that we are one, and we need to live with each other in peace and harmony, because COVID-19 knows no border or nationality. I'm proud and confident to reassure everyone that despite the current difficult situation created by COVID-19, the bilateral relations between South Africa and Turkey are resilient and getting stronger within the frame of the strict adjusted approach by the government of South Africa, essentially easing restrictions by levels. The Turkish and the South African citizens are able to return home for work or medical attention or whatever through scheduled Turkish Airlines repatriation flights. South Africa is currently top 5 in COVID-19 cases ranking, but I can assure you that comparatively in relation to the rest of the world, the number of deaths increases quite slowly. And this is indicative of the intensive health measures introduced by government and also the support of the humility of the Turkish government. We were fortunate as South Africa to form part of the Turkish list of recipients of the mask consignment as a gift. Through the adjusted budget tabled by our Minister of Finance, about 500 billion rands, amounting to 10% of the GDP, has been set aside for social and economic relief. As part of an integrated effort, the Reserve Bank slashed interest rates by over 200%. His Excellency President Cyril Ramaphosa, in his capacity as the AU chair, hosted 2 virtual meetings of the Bureau of the Assembly of Heads of State and Government. The Bureau agreed to establish a COVID-19 response fund that is dedicated to the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. According to the President, $36.5 million has been raised in that regard, and an additional response fund of $25 million has been raised as well. So despite the broader services sector and manufacturing sector being the most affected, food security and agro-processing, amongst others, received equal attention to ensure the suppression of poverty. Because in South Africa, you may be aware that we've got on our agenda triple challenges, and that is the challenge of inequality, the challenge of creating jobs, and so forth. So in light of this, the international financial institutions have been approached for discussions on various transaction possibilities. Excellencies, we are in a time in which economic development needs an accelerated trade and investment more than ever. Our economy actually offers value proposition. In terms of the rankings, we are satisfactorily in the Global Competitive Index for your investments and trade. Of greater importance for now is to retain and maintain the current investments so as to call other investment to come on board. And I mention this because the current investment revenues contribute immensely towards changing the lives of people. Our state-owned companies, just to name a few, Denel from the defense industry and Eskom, the electricity company, are in serious need of capital injection and investments. We are concerned about the widening gap of infrastructure development, but at the same time, we are happy for the existing opportunities. Kindly acquaint yourselves, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, with the benefits that are there for the industrial development zones and the economic zones. Also acquaint yourselves with the BEE policy, which is the Black Economic Empowerment Policy, and it actually alludes to the issue of empowering the small and medium enterprises. Our GDP last year grew at about 0.7, and it was projected for this year to grow by 1.1. But because we have an uninvited guest called COVID-19, it becomes really difficult. COVID-19 will not deter us from pursuing our fourth industrial revolution aspirations for the continent to be on par with the world. We must all drive the implementation of presidential infrastructure to champion initiatives so that priority and high impact projects such as rail can act as catalyst for the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. The Free Trade Agreement relies in infrastructure development plan, but the infrastructure development plan also relies on silencing the guns. It is a pity and unfortunate that COVID-19 came at the time where South Africa is chairing the African Union, wherein all the planned activities and objectives could have been rolled out smooth. Excellencies, without deliberating further, I wish to offer a message of consolement amid these difficult challenges. Gloom and despondency have never defeated adversity. Trying times need courage and resilience. Our strength as a people is not tested during the best of times. As we said before, we should never become despondent because the weather is bad, nor should we turn triumphalist because the sun shines. Therefore, we are on a disenchanted path, never traversed before, but despair and desperate measures should not be an option. We are happy and we take note of Turkey's export plan to South Africa. What our government is saying is, let us be part and parcel of manufacturing those exports so that we can get some skill, so that our youth can also be equipped. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, I deem it fit to leave it here, and I wish you all a happy and safe Bayram. Çok teşekkür.
Thank you. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. Tabii Güney Afrika-Türkiye ticari ilişkileri biraz daha farklı. Güney Afrika yıllardır Türkiye'nin Sahra Altı Afrika'daki en büyük ticaret partneri. Ticaretimizin rakamlarında ilk sırada. Tabii bunu yeterli görmüyoruz. Daha da arttırmak için özellikle hem ticaret bakımında hem yatırım bakımında karşılıklı olarak hem DEİK heyetleri hem bakanlığımızın temsilcileri beraber çalışıyorlar. Çok teşekkür ediyorum. İyi günler diliyorum size. Bir sonraki konuşmacımız Fas'tan Bayan Latifa Lolali. Yes, Miss Latifa Lolali from Embassy of Morocco. Welcome.
Bonjour, merci beaucoup, Monsieur le Président du DEİK, Excellence, Monsieur le Doyen du groupe africain, Excellence, Messieurs les ambassadeurs, Messieurs les représentants des ministères du Commerce, des Affaires étrangères et chers participants. Donc, comme prévu dans le programme, mon intervention portera sur l'environnement des affaires et les opportunités d'investissement au Maroc. Mais je souhaiterais également toucher du doigt un autre point, c'est la riposte du Maroc à la pandémie Covid-19. En réalité, il y a beaucoup de choses à dire sur les efforts déployés, les réalisations accomplies et le potentiel dont dispose le Maroc dans le domaine des investissements. Mais je vais essayer de me limiter au temps qui m'est attribué et je ne vais pas entrer trop dans les détails. Donc, pour commencer, quelques statistiques. Donc, le rapport Doing Business 2020 publié par la Banque mondiale a classé le Maroc au 53e rang mondial sur 190 pays quant à la facilité de faire des affaires et à la 3e place sur le plan africain et au niveau de la région Moyen-Orient et Afrique du Nord. Donc, cet exploit a permis au Maroc de réaliser un saut de 7 rangs par rapport au dernier classement. Et bien évidemment, cet exploit a pu être atteint grâce aux multiples réformes engagées par le Maroc et qui ont notamment touché l'amélioration des cadres juridiques et réglementaires ainsi que la simplification et la numérisation des procédures administratives, dont la facilitation de certaines mesures liées au cycle de vie des affaires, ainsi que la création de plateformes électroniques et de guichets uniques. Et par ailleurs, le Maroc a occupé une place de choix dans des rapports émis par différentes institutions internationales, dans des cabinets de notation de renommée mondiale. Je cite ici à titre indicatif. Donc, premier pays en Afrique en termes de qualité des infrastructures, selon le Global Competitiveness, publié par le World Economic Forum en 2018. Premier centre financier en Afrique, selon le Global Finance Centers Index, publié aussi en 2018. Troisième pays africain le plus attractif pour les investisseurs, selon le rapport Where to Invest in Africa, publié en 2019 par la Rand Merchant Bank. Premier pays le plus attractif pour les investisseurs étrangers, selon le rapport Africa Attractiveness Survey, publié en 2018 par Ernst & Young. Troisième top destination dans le monde arabe pour les investissements directs étrangers, selon le Foreign Direct Investment Intelligence. Bien évidemment, ces résultats ne relèvent pas du hasard, mais sont le fruit de l'intérêt particulier que porte le Maroc depuis plusieurs années dans ce domaine, donc pour améliorer le climat des affaires au Maroc. Dans ce cadre, un ensemble de dispositifs visant à renforcer la concurrence et la transparence a été mis en place. Je cite à titre d'exemple, renforcement du système de droit des affaires, développement et modernisation des marchés financiers, création du comité national et des comités régionaux de l'environnement des affaires, création de l'instance centrale de la prévention de la corruption, création de l'Office marocain de la propriété intellectuelle et commerciale, promotion de la charte relative à la responsabilité sociale des entreprises. Par ailleurs, le Maroc garantit et protège les investissements d'abord au niveau multilatéral à travers la ratification des conventions internationales, dont celle portant création du Centre international de règlement des différends relatifs aux investissements, de l'Agence multilatérale de garantie des investissements et de l'Organisation interarabe pour la garantie des investissements, pour ne citer que cela. Ensuite, sur le plan bilatéral, le Maroc a signé un certain nombre d'accords, de traités et de conventions avec un grand nombre de ses partenaires portant sur la protection des investissements et la non-double imposition. Aussi est-il important de rappeler que dans le but de tirer profit de sa position géostratégique, étant situé à seulement 14 km des côtes européennes et au carrefour des principales routes d'échanges commerciaux reliant les États-Unis, l'Europe, l'Afrique et le Moyen-Orient, le Maroc a signé une multitude d'accords de libre-échange un peu partout dans le monde, permettant ainsi aux investisseurs un accès libre à un marché de plus de 1 milliard de consommateurs. Donc, dans le même contexte, des efforts conséquents ont été déployés par le Maroc pour maintenir la stabilité des indicateurs macroéconomiques. Plusieurs stratégies sectorielles ont été lancées pour assurer une croissance forte et soutenue. De grands projets d'infrastructures ont été inaugurés. On cite par exemple rapidement le port Tanger-Med, la ligne ferroviaire de grande vitesse et Nour, la plus grande station solaire au monde. Donc pour les gens qui sont intéressés d'avoir des détails sur ces grands projets, on est prêt à leur fournir les informations nécessaires. Donc il suffit juste de nous envoyer des emails et on peut répondre aux questions ou bien les mettre directement en contact avec les autorités compétentes, bien sûr. Il y a également un point que je voudrais soulever. Donc, le Maroc dispose également d'une main-d'œuvre qualifiée, connue pour son niveau d'éducation, son ouverture d'esprit, sa maîtrise des langues étrangères, son attachement à l'entrepreneuriat et son coût très compétitif. Maintenant, en ce qui concerne les opportunités d'affaires, le Maroc a mis en place en 2014 le plan d'accélération industrielle qui vise à donner une impulsion nouvelle au secteur industriel. Donc, le déploiement de cette stratégie qui s'appuie sur la mise en place d'une nouvelle offre industrielle plus ciblée et compétitive a abouti au lancement de plusieurs écosystèmes dans plusieurs secteurs tels que l'automobile, l'aéronautique, l'offshoring, le textile, le BTP, le cuir, la chimie et la parachimie, l'industrie pharmaceutique et j'en passe, qui sont tous des secteurs porteurs d'opportunités d'affaires avec une mention spéciale pour ce qu'on appelle les nouveaux métiers mondiaux du Maroc, à savoir l'automobile, l'aéronautique, les énergies renouvelables et l'agro-industrie qui représentent aujourd'hui le fer de lance de cette stratégie. Ces écosystèmes regroupent des leaders industriels et des PME dans une zone industrielle dédiée visant à constituer de véritables filières technologiques de fourniture long terme et des transferts technologiques. Donc, voilà. Donc je passe rapidement, je vois que je n'ai pas assez de temps pour parler longuement donc je passe rapidement à la riposte. Ok. Juste 2 minutes, s'il vous plaît. Donc, concernant la riposte du Maroc au Covid-19, donc le Maroc a entrepris une série de mesures pour faire face à la crise économique ou bien aux effets économiques de cette pandémie. Donc, d'abord, il y a la création du Fonds spécial de lutte contre le Covid-19 sur instruction de Sa Majesté le Roi, lequel fonds a permis de mobiliser plus de 3,5 milliards de dollars grâce à un élan de solidarité des différentes composantes de la société marocaine. Donc, la mise en place par le gouvernement d'un comité de veille économique chargé d'anticiper les répercussions économiques directes et indirectes de la crise sanitaire à travers un suivi régulier de l'évolution de la situation économique et l'adoption de mesures appropriées pour accompagner les secteurs touchés. La mise en place du mécanisme d'aman oxygène offrant aux entreprises dont le chiffre d'affaires ne dépasse pas 500 000 dirhams de bénéficier de prêts exceptionnels garantis par l'État, la reconversion et réorientation de l'industrie marocaine vers la production du matériel médical à même d'aider le pays à affronter le Covid-19. Donc, les mesures prises par le Maroc pour faire face au Covid-19 ne sont pas limitées au niveau national, mais dès la déclaration de la pandémie en Afrique, le Maroc, Sa Majesté le Roi a pris l'initiative d'appeler ses amis et frères africains, les présidents du Sénégal et de Côte d'Ivoire, pour la mise en place d'un cadre opérationnel pour la gestion concertée des différentes phases de la pandémie, consistant en les partages d'expériences et de solidarité. Donc, dans ce cadre, le Maroc a dépêché une aide médicale à plus de 15 pays africains pour les aider à surmonter cette crise sanitaire inédite. Et je vous donne ici quelques statistiques de cette aide médicale. Donc, plus de 8 millions de masques, 60 000 blouses, 900 000 visières, 75 000 boîtes de chloroquine, 15 000 boîtes d'azithromycine, 30 000 litres de gel hydroalcoolique. Donc, c'est une aide qui a été octroyée aux pays africains pour les aider à surmonter.
I want to remind you about the time again.
Just 1 minute. One more minute. Just 1 more minute. Donc, la présence, au-delà de la riposte au Covid-19, la présence, le Maroc est très présent au Maroc à travers de nombreuses entreprises et de grands projets structurants. Donc, parce que le Maroc est très attaché à l'Afrique, parce qu'il croit en le potentiel de l'Afrique. C'est pourquoi il entretient des relations de partenariat gagnant-gagnant à travers plusieurs grands investissements. Donc, je cite à titre indicatif et très rapidement: usine de fabrication de fertilisants au Nigeria et en Éthiopie, rénovation et réhabilitation de la baie de Cocody à Abidjan, Côte d'Ivoire, présence d'opérateurs bancaires et de télécoms en Afrique. C'est le premier investisseur africain en Afrique de l'Ouest. Donc, il y a encore beaucoup de choses à dire, mais je dois m'arrêter là. Donc, merci beaucoup pour votre attention.
Oh, sorry. Officially, the time is up for us. Thank you. Thank you. Teşekkür ediyorum.
Merci infiniment. Je suis désolée.
Tabii çok hızlı bir şekilde ben toparlamak istiyorum bu bölümde konuşulanları. Ben ilk önce böyle bir etkinlik için DEİK Başkanıma teşekkür ediyorum. Bakanlıklardan katılan temsilcilere teşekkür ediyorum. Ve buradaki büyükelçilerimize bu konuşmaya, bu panele büyük destek veren sayın büyükelçilere teşekkür ediyorum. Çok kısa üzerinden geçmek gerekirse sayın büyükelçilerle neler konuşuldu, sayın büyükelçiler nelerden bahsettiler. Tabii ticaret rakamlarından konuşmanın başında da belirtmiştik. Ticaret rakamlarından konuştuk. 22.4 milyar dolarlık bir ticaretimiz var Afrika'yla ama sadece ticaret değil. Hani şu anda bizim ihracatımız haliyle daha fazla ama gelecek ortaklıklarla birlikte, gelecekte yapacağımız ortaklıklarla birlikte, yatırımlarla birlikte Afrika'nın da ihracatının artmasına önemli katkıda bulunacağını düşünüyorum ben Türkiye'nin. Belli sektörler var sayın büyükelçilerin altını çizdiği. Sağlık sektörünün altı çizildi, tarım sektöründen bahsedildi. Altyapı olarak lojistik sektöründe rail and road olarak adlandırılan uluslararası piyasadaki sektörlerden konuşuldu. Bu projelerin finansmanının önemli olduğundan bahsedildi ve fırsatlar konuşuldu. Tabii büyükelçilerden bir tanesinin söylediği önemliydi. Önemli bir eksikliğimiz bilgi. Bunları konuşurken bizim eksik bilgi veya yanlış bilgi de olabiliyor ülkelerle ilgili. O yüzden de direkt ilk ağızdan bilgi almak için bu tür etkinlikler çok önem arz ediyor. Ben DEİK'e burada tekrar teşekkür etmek istiyorum ve bu etkinliklerin süreceğini, bu etkinliklerin devam edeceğini Önümüzdeki günlerde de diğer Afrika'nın sayın büyükelçileriyle birlikte yeni bu tür toplantıların süreceğini duyurmak istiyorum. Bütün katılımcılara çok teşekkür ediyorum. İyi günler diliyorum efendim. Sağ olun.
Bitirdik mi Uğur Bey?
Bitirdik Sayın Başkanım. Ben özellikle tekrar size çok teşekkür ediyorum. Hani bu tür direkt bilgilendirmeler herkes için çok faydalı oluyor. Buyurun Sayın Başkanım.
Estağfurullah. Ben de çok teşekkür ederim tüm büyükelçilerimize. Biz DEİK olarak zaten sabah bir saatte başlayıp gecenin geç saatine kadar giden video konferans sistemini hayatımızın bir parçası haline getirdik. Orada Dışişleri Bakanlığımız ve Ticaret Bakanlığımız bu programlarımızın ayrılmaz parçaları. Hem bizim yurt dışındaki büyükelçilerimiz ve ticaret müşavirlerimiz ve belirli programlarda da Ankara'daki sayın büyükelçiler. Onlar olmadığında programın bir kısmını eksik gibi hissediyorum. Ben verdikleri desteklerden dolayı teşekkür ediyorum. Bundan sonraki süreçte de birlikte olmaya devam edeceğiz.
Çok teşekkürler Sayın Başkanım.